So I am a Jewish educator, but I was trained as an actor. And for the past several years, I have been using drama in my classes to invite my students to engage in as much Jewish text study as possible and to learn midrashim, to learn commentaries, while also inviting them to be fully engaged in contributing their own opinions and their own ideas as well. If literacy, after all, means learning how to read, we're actually inviting our students to learn how to read for a sense of Jewish identity. So it needs to go beyond reading and into internalizing. Now, I want to share with you, as you heard, I'm both an actor and Jewish educator, my journey, a little bit about my journey and something that made me go from more of the acting world to the world of Jewish text. And it all started with a translation. Years ago, I saw that the word truah was translated as deep emotion. And I thought, that's interesting. I come from background in Jewish day school, and I know truah as the last sound of the shofar blast, you know, the do, right? But in this moment, something piqued my curiosity. And all of a sudden, I am researching Jewish texts, opening on my own, and looking where the rabbis were in the 3rd century having the same conversation. What on earth is truah? We need to figure this out in order to know what the day of truah is. Because in our Jewish texts, the day of truah is Rosh Hashanah. But we didn't have that at that point. What is this day of truah? What actually happens? And so it's the 3rd century. We're speaking Aramaic, right? So we look to an Aramaic translation. Truah is yabava. Okay, what's yabava? Well, we see this root word somewhere. We see this in the book of Judges when the prophetess Devorah is singing a song of victory after the Israelites defeat the Canaanite army, after the Canaanite commander, Sisera, is killed by the hands of the woman. And Devorah in her song makes us see the mother of Sisera. And what is she doing? She's by her window, wondering where her son is and why he has not yet come home. And there's that word, vatiyabev. And using that Haftorah trope, it's vatiyabev. And I'm actually going to invite you to do that with me right now. Here we go. Vatiyabev. Very nice, because after all, in order to open up text, we also need to first open up ourselves. But they need to figure out, well, what is this cry that she's doing? Is this a scream of fear, they ask? Is it, ha, a cry of uncertainty? Or is it heaving sighs of uncertainty? Or is it that ululation so common back then? Right? It's unclear. The rabbis don't know. But they decide we're going to do all 3 for Rosh Hashanah. And that is truah. Now, imagine yourself as an actor. Everyone here is all of a sudden an actor, okay? That's your new profession, and you love it. So what do? What's your job? Essentially, you have to take a character from a page of script, 2-dimensional, into a fully fledged 3-dimensional human being with hopes and dreams and fears and favorite music and favorite food, etc. But how are you going to do that? You can't just act out the stage directions. You have to go into the very heart and silence of the character. You have to examine them from every angle, follow them into their innermost selves, and go so far as to imagine the unimaginable. And these are Elie Wiesel's words when he talks about the study of Midrash. So clearly, there's a huge connection between the creative energies, or the creativity that happens in the study of Midrash, and what we can do with drama. Now, how many of you are educators here? Don't be shy. Yeah. Okay, and how many of you have used drama in your classrooms? So, okay, great. So some a little bit less, it's hard to see, but I want to share with you how you in fact probably have all used drama in your classrooms and how we can actually go a few steps further to do this in order to really engage our students even more, and what are the benefits that happen with that. So first of all, what's drama? Etymologically, drama means action, to act or to play, and it's best understood as a process to discover and communicate meaning. And as other people have said before me, including Samuel Citron, who writes prolifically on drama and education, it compels the student to engage fully, actively in the learning. It calls on a student's innermost creative impulses and imagination, and most importantly, allows students to connect both emotionally and intellectually to what we're learning. That's what makes it as a profound experience. So no longer is a student sitting back and just having the information transmitted to them, but we're actually involving them to engage even more, to be active learners in the process. So let's put this emotional and intellectual connection to use. Firstly, what's most similar between the study of Midrash and the study of bringing an actor to life? It's the process first of curiosity. We have to ask the questions. Now, since you're all actors now, you may be familiar with the drama teacher, Uta Hagen, who offers her actors 6-step character analysis in order to figure out, well, who are you? What do you want? What are the circumstances? What are your relationships? What are the objectives? And how are you going to get what you want? And what are the obstacles in the way? Now, our rabbis did not have a rubric like this, but every single thing that they interpreted began with a question. And so, when we give our students a piece of text, and I'm not necessarily just talking about young children, I'm talking about people in any class, from community centers to summer camps, to synagogue schools, but also to in high schools and colleges. When we give people a set of text to look at, the first thing we ask them to do perhaps is figure out what are the facts, what do we know, what do we have here, what can we decipher, and what is left unsaid, what's ambiguous, what can we ask? And we write all of those questions down, we discuss, we bring them all together, we're listening to other people at the same time. This is how we build the skills of curiosity. And only once we feel like we have all the questions out there, only then can we start engaging in figuring out some responses. And this is about inviting new perspectives into the conversation. New perspectives from commentaries, from midrashim, from our peers around us. And this is when we get to actually bring something to life. So if we had a question back in curiosity, for example, if we're looking at the story of Joseph and his brothers, right, who there's this ambiguous line, Vayar et achav batzon, that he's shepherding along with his brothers, or he's shepherding with his brothers. In now, this frame of perspective, of bringing something to life, we could engage actively. And Tableau, using Tableau, which is a frozen image with your bodies, right, you can actually tell a story, bring something to life. So for example, if someone's standing like this, for example, this is right, you can tell a whole story like that if someone's standing like this, right? You know what's going on, maybe, right? You can read that as a text. So too, you may have groups of students who build a tableau with Joseph strong and actually shepherding his brothers, in charge, or Joseph smaller and watching, trying to figure out their every move and imitate that as well. And what's Reuven doing at the same time, right? We start to engage in the possibilities and perspectives, bringing something to life. And I want to just take a moment to explain something, that this doesn't culminate in a show or in a theatrical performance. We're not doing this so that we can then put on a play of Joseph at the end of the year. The goal of learning is actually right in that process. So we create a safe space for that learning to happen right then and there. It's for each other, even though it is aesthetic, like theater. Now, most importantly, the third element, we had curiosity, new perspectives, but the third element, which is unique to the study of drama, which I think only makes it even much more real and tangible, is this sense of empathy that we can teach when we use this art of drama in our classroom. So all of a sudden, we invite students to envision themselves looking at the world through another's lens, whether that's a character from a script, right? Whether that's a character from Chumash, And for example, you may have a student in the class who takes up a lot of space, who really just is very vocal. What is that like to play a role that's really small and timid? And so too, what about a student who's quite timid and small? What is that like to play a bold character? What happens? All of a sudden, through empathy and seeing something from another's perspective, we develop more interpersonal relationships with each other and better ways to communicate. We also invite our students to engage in our characters and text in this kind of a way. We empathize with our ancestors or with the characters that we study. Now, going back to that shofar blast, whenever I hear that on Rosh Hashanah, the empathy that I feel for this nameless mother of Sisra shapes the way that I think about Rosh Hashanah, shapes it into a way of a day of prayer, of uncertainty, of what is yet to come. And that's changed the way that I think of that. And what I'd actually like us all to do is, I think that you're a very brave audience. Yeah, so I demonstrated some tableau for you, which is just a very small shift in position, which tells a whole story. So thinking about shofar blasts, what that could possibly mean. What is a position that you would take when you hear that blast? Now, I just want to give you some more ideas of the shofar, because in Jewish texts, we also learn that the shofar could be a sound for everyone to get up and gather. It could be a sound for everyone to get up and go to war. It could also be a sound for installing a king, or it could even be a sound of, again, uncertainty, to move, to gather, to go to war. And there's even more ideas and options. So I want everyone to stand up, okay? We're going to stand up. Usually this happens at the very end of a class, but I'd love you to experience this so you can even bring this to your students as well. So if you were to hear a shofar blast, how do you just change? You don't all have to be standing. Some of you can, right, move in different positions. But how do you respond if you're an Israelite, right, in the desert? Maybe is it going to war? What is the option? Okay? So when I say freeze, we're all just going to take a position. Okay? Here we go. Freeze. Okay, don't move. Don't move. Okay, you guys are amazing. Don't move this side of the class. I mean, see me, this side. But can I invite all of you just to slowly turn and look at the sculpture garden that, if you can see, that we've created over here. And I want to just say that this works. We have more empathy and a lot of characteristics also when I've done it. So you're all very brave. Thank you so much.